In a world filled with constant distractions, staying focused sometimes can be truly a challenge to all of us, uh, especially when things matter. So it's a constant battle. We know that. I know that. You know that. So today we're going to explore how to cut through the noise and be focused on our goals or the things that we're trying and that we're striving to achieve. This is a 30. Let's go. Well, hello there, gang. Welcome to the 30. I am your host, Patrick. I want to thank you for being here. If this is your first time joining us, thank you, thank you, thank you. If this is your, let's say, this is episode 240. So if you've been with us from the beginning back in 2020, thank you for certainly being with us throughout the course of this broadcast. Well, do me a huge favor. If you're watching this from wherever you're watching this from, make sure you give us a like, make sure that you share it with someone. And also, if you have any comments or if you have any thoughts or you'd just like to say hi, put it in the comments, drop it in the chat. Love to hear from you. Well, today we're going to be talking about focusing on what matters, navigating the noise. Earlier today, I was talking to a friend of mine, a colleague, and we're having a conversation about things that our goals and what we're doing, where we're heading, and then we went into this conversation about focus and trying to cut through the noise because there's so many distractions, and how do we do that? I know for me, sometimes it can be very challenging in terms of focusing on the things that I need to do, what I call focusing on what's mattered or what matters, focusing on my goals. And then all of a sudden, something pops up, right? I get an alert on my phone. I see that there's a football show, soccer show, or soccer game that I want to watch. There's a friend of mine that may be doing something, or maybe the wife has called me to take out the garbage or something, right? Now that's a necessity. It's not necessarily a distraction, but it takes away from what matters. So we want to talk about that today. And I'm going to go through, give you some tips as to how to cut through the noise, AKA distractions, because folks, distractions are inevitable. Noise is inevitable. Things are going to happen. We're going to experience certain things in our day-to-day life, which causes us to really not totally focus on what we're supposed to be doing, but temporarily distracts us. For some, it may be procrastination. For others, it may be part of their makeup. Or for others, it may be something that is appealing to them that they just want to pay attention to and forget about what truly matters. So let's have a conversation about that today on today's episode. And I'm going to give you some thoughts. I'm going to give you some ideas that I have and some things that I've researched and looked at. But let's have this conversation. Again, put your questions or comment in the chat. I'd love to hear from you what type of distractions or what type of noise that pulls you away from focusing on what matters. And if you have any ideas as to how to avoid Not totally, because you can't avoid them totally, right? But what strategies, what tips do you have that you can help myself and help our viewers and listeners? So that's what today's episode is about, is navigating the noise. What are some tips that we can utilize to help us navigate the distractions and the noise? Well, the first one that I'm going to be talking about is with the foundation that noise or distractions are inevitable. You can't avoid them. Anytime you have something like this, a phone, or maybe this, I hope that this is not a distraction, that you don't see this show as a distraction, but more of a help, a tool that can help you to get to where you want to go. That's my hope and my desire. But anytime you have your phone, you have social media, uh, your television set, you have people around you, there are going to be some distractions. There is going to be some noise. So realizing that, number one, noise or distractions are inevitable. That's number one. That's the main thing, that you can't get away from them. So the key here is, how do you handle them? How do you navigate against the noise? How do you move away or minimize, I should say, the noise or distraction? So let's look at how we can do that. The number one is realizing that these things are inevitable. So we may be doing something constructive, then something comes up. So here's a tip, what I call an action tip, as to how you can minimize the noise or distraction. First is to reframe the distraction into an opportunity. And I said that again. To be able to reframe the distraction into an opportunity, and this is to help you to practice focusing. So what do I mean? It's all about a mindset, right? It's all about focusing. It's all about realizing that you need to change some things around. So as opposed to looking at it as a distraction, we're now going to look at it as an opportunity to help strengthen our focus. So, to make it clear, to give you some clarity about it, is that when we hear a notification or an alert, right, or we see something that we may be interested in, we don't look at it or make it seem like if it's a distraction. Instead, what we need to do is to look at it as an opportunity to enhance our focus. So we look at it from a different mindset, right? Instead of letting it pull us away, what we should now do is to have this be an opportunity to say, okay, I recognize you, distraction. I recognize you, noise. But instead of pulling me away, I'm going to now practice. What I need to do is greater focus. Yeah, so I may look at a distraction briefly, but I'm not going to let it pull me away totally, right? I may glance at it, but I'm not going to let it distract me from what I need to focus on. So a simple reframing from distraction or noise to opportunity to practice focus. And make sure that this is something that you do regularly. Can it be a challenge? Absolutely. It can be a challenge. But if you practice, perfect practice makes permanent, right? Not practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes permanent. So this is something that you have to be diligent and intentional about. So number one, reframing distractions into opportunities to help you to practice focus. Here's a second one. And this one is great. As equally as challenging as the first one. Here it is. Saying no. Now, we may be invited to different events. We may on our calendars are full of meetings, right? We have different things that we have to do. We have meetings, we have chores, we have responsibilities. So we have all these things going on from sunup to sundown and beyond. But here's the key. Do we have to attend everyone or everything? When we are invited to a meeting, do we have to attend that meeting? Or can we say no to that meeting? Can we say no to that event? So the strategy of practicing no. And it's okay to say no. I like to call it saying no and also setting boundaries. If you have a team, how about delegating that to someone else? Set up the boundaries that I can't go to everything. I can't attend every meeting. But if I have a team that or a team member that I can trust, that I believe in, that I know that has the aptitude and the attitude to get the job done, I can now delegate that event or that team meeting, that activity. I can delegate that to someone else on the team, which would help to build their experience and give you time now to navigate the noise and focus on what matters. So we all know, we've all gone through this. We've all had invites to meetings, invites to activities, to gatherings. And we feel, because it is someone that we know, a friend, a peer, a colleague, we feel obligated that we need to attend. Or we feel obligated that because the meeting has been put on our calendar, that we should attend that meeting or every meeting that we are invited to. No, say no. It's okay to say no or delegate it to someone else. It's okay to do that so that you can remain focused on what matters. So that's number 2, saying no to the noise and setting boundaries. So what does setting boundaries do? So sometimes we have to turn off or silence this thing, right? I like to set during the week. There's certain times that I take calls. There's certain times that I am focused on what I need to do with my goals, with other things that's happening within the business, right? So there's certain things that I know that I must do. But then there are certain things that, nice to do, but they're not must do's. So I have to learn to set boundaries. I have to learn that I can't take every phone call, right? I have to set boundaries, is that in terms of my day stops at a certain time. My day starts at a certain time. I have to set boundaries where folks know not to call me at a certain time. So I have to focus on what matters. Personally, my wife and I on Sunday, that is our day. We go to church on Sunday. We may go out to eat, or we may come home and eat. That's our family. That's our time. That's our family time. So folks know, unless it's an emergency, don't call me on a Sunday unless it's an emergency, because I'm not going to call back. I'm not going to take the call unless it's an emergency, or unless it is during a time that I'm serving in ministry at church. But that is a dedicated time for family. Now, after 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, yes, then I'll get back to you. But unless it's an emergency, I need to set the boundary. If not, I'll be working 7 days a week. And that's not healthy. So saying no, setting boundaries, navigating the noise, because folks may be calling just the noise. So I need to tamp that down and focus on what matters. Sunday is important to us. That matters to us. It's our time to go to church, worship the Lord, give him praise on that particular day. We do it all throughout the week, but that's our dedicated time for us to get together with our church family and focus on the Lord. And then in the afternoon is our family time. So that's us. That may be a little bit different for you. And I understand that. For you, it may be a Saturday or maybe a Friday. I get that. I understand that. But I'm just giving you some thoughts and ideas from my personal life, right? Personal and professional life. Some tips and ideas that may help you. The next one is in terms of navigating the noise. Number 3 is getting rid of toxic people. Navigating the noise, focusing on what matters. I don't know if you have what I call toxic people in your life, but if you do, and how do I define toxic people? Sometimes there are people that whenever you engage them, you talk with them, it's a lot of negativity. Everything is negative. Everything is woe be me. Everything is complaining. Everything is just so toxic. They toxic about the dreams, about their goals, right? And then it kind of rubs off on you, because all of a sudden now you may think, man, I'm doing the same thing that this person is doing. So you need to kind of, if not totally get rid of them, put that boundary up, right? Kind of limit access to you and your conversation with them. Because if you don't, you will fall into the trap where the same thing is happening. And that's a distraction from you, where you're complaining, where you're becoming negative, where you're focused on other things outside of what really matters. Your goals, short term, long term. You're striving to achieve certain things. So you need to really focus on what matters. So, as I said, number 3, limiting your conversation or taking negative or toxic people out of your daily discussion or your life. It's okay. Sometimes these things happen because you don't want to be consumed with negativity. You don't want to be consumed with someone who's always complaining. Everything is wrong. And everything is wrong because of others and not them. I know that can be a little harsh. I understand that. And I apologize if it seems a little harsh. But if your focus is always on the negative thoughts, always on complaining, always on woe be me, then what space do you have to focus on what truly matters? And you may not have that in your life, and I understand that. But I'm giving you just some thoughts and ideas. I'm not saying that everyone has those type of individuals in their lives. And if you do, limit the conversation with them. Maybe 5 minutes as opposed to 30 minutes. So how do you set it? I only have Bob, Mary, Joe, Susie. I only have 5 minutes so that we can chat. Right? As opposed to saying, oh yeah, you pick up the phone or you meet with them for half an hour, then half an hour is gone. You're saying, how can I get this half an hour back? Well, you can't. It's already gone. So focus on what matters. Here's number 4. With activity. I want you to think about this and ask yourself the question. Is what I'm doing getting me closer to my goal or getting me further from my goal? And this is something that you have to ask yourself, right? Is what I'm doing, picking up the phone, watching that TV show, spending hours and hours on screen time, is that getting me closer to my goal or is it getting me further from my goal? Is hanging out with certain individuals getting me closer to my goal or getting me further away from my goal? Am I hanging out with the right people or person, I should say? Is it getting me closer to my goal or further away from my goal? So you have to ask yourself that. That's a question for you to ask yourself. If I want to learn about something, who do I hang out with, right? Who do I speak with? Do I speak with individuals that know it? Or do I speak with the individuals that do not know it and complain about it? So you have to ask yourself that question. Are my actions and my activity getting me closer to my goal or away from my goal? It's about focus. It's about perspective. It's about spending 3 hours on social media, the noise, the distraction. Is that going to get me closer to my goal or get me further away from my goal? Or have I wasted 2 or 3 hours? Yes, and you may spend that time on social media learning more about your craft. You may spend that time researching, right? That is something getting you closer to your goal, not further away from your goal. So we're talking about focusing on what matters and navigating the noise, aka distraction. So I'll give you the last one here is that the power of focusing on what truly matters, and this is what I call laser focus. As I mentioned earlier, distractions, noise, these things are inevitable. But when we're looking at laser focus, we have to be laser focused. It's about the clarity of our goals. It's about really spending time and looking over, reviewing what our goals are, reviewing where we want to go, reviewing the things that we want to accomplish, reviewing what we're striving for. So once we have the clarity of that and we're anchored in that with what's important, when distractions come along, we don't focus on a distraction because we know what we should be doing. Laser focus. The power of focusing on what truly matters. So I hope this episode was helpful for you in terms of navigating. How do we navigate? The goal of this was to just give you some actionable tips that will help you to take you from where you are to where you desire to be, to enhance your focus on what matters and reduce the noise or distraction. So, and repeat as we end, let me summarize this. Number one, realizing that distractions and noise, that's inevitable. Once we realize that, right? Once we admit that, we realize that we can't, these are things that sometimes happen. Alerts on our phone happen. Notifications on our phone happen. Watching television sometimes, spending time with others sometimes happens, right? These are things that happens. Sometimes we may have to have a conversation with people that what we call dream busters or toxic, but we can control that. So number one, realizing that these things happen, then reframing distractions into opportunities to practice focus. When we are tasked, when we're focused with a distraction, reframe it into an opportunity. And that comes through our mindset, not looking at it as a distraction, but looking at it as an opportunity. Number three, the ability to say no. No, but I can have someone attend. No, I can't attend that meeting, that activity. No, I can't do that. However, I may allow me to have someone else attend it, right? But say no. It's okay to say no. No is a good thing. And then lastly, the power of focusing on what truly matters. Practice laser focus. Despite whatever happens, you are focused on your goal. You are focused, laser focused on what you're striving to accomplish, and minimize and getting rid of everything else, right? Or minimize that noise that may come up. But you are laser focused on what needs to be done. Folks, I hope this was helpful. I want to thank you for being here, and I hope that these tips, the key is to practice them, not just hear them, not just see them, but put them into practice and let me know how you've done. Maybe you've practiced one, but let me know. Let me know which one works so that we can continue our conversation and continue being focused on what truly matters, continue being focused on our goals, continue our path and our journey in accomplishing what we need to accomplish. So as we end, may God bless you and your family. Be safe, and we'll see you down the road. Be blessed, everyone.